was like, oh, okay. Now, I will always preach this. I will literally not shut up about this, but... Hi, it's Delia. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing about something that is very close to my heart. I personally have gained so much from going to therapy, and I learned a lot about taking care of my mental health. And so my ultimate goal for this video is to encourage you to either start or continue to prioritize your mental health this year. So let's just get started. First, I truly believe that therapy is for anybody and that everyone can benefit from going to therapy. To break it down, therapy is learning about yourself. It may not be like this in every session, but usually therapy is peeling back our onion layers and digging deep, looking within, and unpacking all the stuff that's inside, which I call kind of like the root. Our root, I would say, could be like our experiences that we have in life. And sometimes we pack away our experiences in boxes and we lock it away and we try not to think about it, which is fine. It's just potentially the things that we locked up, or just our experiences in general, they contribute to the fruit we produce. For example, how we look at life, our behavior, our attitudes, the way we communicate, the list goes on. And so if you are wondering, why am I behaving this way? Or why did I respond in this certain way to that certain thing, right? Well, actually, I think going to therapy can potentially provide you some answers, because we kind of just dial back and ask, okay, why? Next level, okay, but why? And then you just go deeper and deeper and deeper, and that is why it's truly just about learning more about yourself. And yes, it can be uncomfortable, and yes, it does take work. But for me personally, the more I unpack and the more I learn about myself and where I'm coming from, I experience true liberation from that. And so to me, the uncomfortableness or the hardship is ultimately worth it. And the reason why I think it is so important for us to understand ourselves is because not only is that good for you because you know who you are, but I think it also contributes to improving your relationships with all sorts of people, your family, your friends, your coworkers. It's because I think once you know who you are, you can then communicate better too. So that's just what I think. Second, therapy is a tool. By going to therapy, I've now been equipped on how to be more cognizant of my thought process, emotions, and feelings. And actually, one of the bigger takeaways for me personally from my sessions was I was able to gain a wider or even a different perspective on things that I previously saw with a very narrow lens that was restricting me a lot and causing me a whole lot of harm. So sometimes we just need someone to be there to guide our thought process, and that's totally fine. And you never know, maybe something will come up and you learn something about yourself that you have never thought about. And for me, in my experience, it's those unexpected moments, unexpected things that you learn about yourself that are like so mind-blowing, and like that moment of realization is like, it makes you feel like you unlocked a new level in life, and I personally find it very liberating. Third, there is absolutely no shame in going to therapy. The way I see it, going to therapy is you taking a proactive step in wanting to grow yourself. And I think that that is a demonstration of courage, of proactivity, and that is something that is commendable. And so if you are feeling discouraged, maybe from people telling you or questioning like, oh, why are you going to therapy? Or like you think that people are wondering, oh, like if you think that people are thinking that there must be something wrong with you because you go to therapy, no. I'm gonna tell you, let me encourage you that going to therapy is a sign of strength. My last thought that I want to share pertains to the Christian perspective on therapy. And so if you're finding yourself discouraged from going to therapy because there are thoughts, maybe people are telling you this, that going to therapy means that you're not relying on God anymore, that you don't trust that God is your healer. No. The way I see it, going to therapy and believing that God is your ultimate healer are not mutually exclusive. First of all, you can look for Christian therapists. That way you know that you are on the same page, more or less, about your faith, and that whatever they share is not going to contradict what you believe. And then also, from my experience, faith very much so was integrated into my sessions. And so God can use a therapist to work in your heart and heal you. Going to therapy doesn't mean that you don't trust God all of a sudden. So that is a lie in my opinion, and I don't want that to discourage you from trying therapy out. Having said that, I recognize that therapy is not accessible to everyone, and so if you are able to do so, I highly recommend that you give therapy a try. So to provide some context for this portion of the video, I think I should start with why I personally chose to go to therapy. And for me, that was trauma and abuse recovery. And so I just want to say, even though I knew what I mainly wanted to work on, if you don't know, that's okay. Like, don't let that be a reason to stop you from trying therapy out. All it takes is just a small desire, an inkling, a question. It's like, why do I blah blah blah, and then we can go explore that. Well, not we, but like you can go explore that. So don't feel like you have to have it all figured out, because actually in your first or second session, I believe, usually what you'll do is sit down with your therapist and you will go through some outcomes and therapy goals. And so even though I knew what I needed to go to therapy for, we still sat down and got even more specific with what kind of goals we were looking at and what I wanted to achieve through therapy. And so don't worry if you do not know fully yet. So I've actually had 2 therapists before. I've tried both in-person therapy as well as online therapy. And so my first session was in January 2020, and I've had 3 sessions with my first therapist. And what was that experience like? At that point in my life, I was about to explode, and like I felt like I was very, very close to a shattering point, and like I was held together by like a thread. And I think more than anything, I really needed someone to just listen to me, which was what my therapist did, and it was amazing. And I think one of the most impactful things that she did for me was really validate how I was feeling. Like, she told me, like, of course you would feel that way, like, yeah, and so you felt that way. And so having to hear those things was extremely helpful to me, because I was led to believe a reality that my thoughts were all wrong. And so to have someone tell me that my feelings and thoughts were valid meant so much to me. One thing about my first therapist that I really appreciated was we would actually pray together in our sessions. And so that was really special to me, because that was her actively inviting the Holy Spirit to be a part of our sessions and to be a part of my healing journey. And so I really appreciated that about her. However, due to more logistical reasons, I wasn't in a position to have her as my therapist anymore, and so I did have to go look for a new one. And this was at the time where the pandemic started to really affect life here in Toronto, and lockdown had started, and so everything was shifting online. And so I actually was a little bit unsure about online therapy, because with my first therapist, I really enjoyed going into her office. Like, that act of having that physical safe space was really therapeutic to me. And so I wasn't sure how things would be like online in my room with my family. I think I definitely knew that I needed to continue with therapy, and so I did move forward with contacting my new therapist. And actually, I had to wait about a month until I got my first appointment with my second therapist. And so this kind of talks to the point about how, you know, God will use your circumstances, right? And so in my waiting, I learned a lot about relying on God alone, right? Yes, I don't see there's anything wrong with using or having a professional to help you, but I think in my waiting, I had to learn, like, at the end of the day, it's just God and I. All that is to say, even though waiting for my first appointment with my second therapist was a little bit hard, because I really, really felt like I needed to see her, God still used that waiting period to move me along in my healing journey. So eventually I did start my first session with my second therapist, and honestly, my first 3 sessions with her were they were so monumental in my healing journey. I had so many mental roadblocks that were preventing me from moving forward. Like, I was in a very stuck, confused place. She, one by one, knocked down my roadblocks. It was so liberating. It was so amazing for me, because I realized, like, I held a lot of, or like, basically she just helped me to understand my feelings a little bit better, or like my thoughts a little bit better. And my gosh, like, it was just so helpful in will help propel me forward in my healing journey. Honestly, could go on and make like multiple part videos on the things that I learned in therapy. So let me know if you're interested. Maybe I'll continue on with my sharing. But for this video, I did want to just share my biggest takeaway from my sessions thus far. And it is about self-love. So I learned that self-love is not selfish. So what I was doing previously was extending grace and forgiveness to those that didn't respect the boundaries that I have set up, and obviously that in turn impacted me a lot and hurt me a lot. But I thought that it's the loving thing to do, and then I realized through therapy, before you can love others, you gotta love yourself, and that loving yourself is not a wrong thing to do, because I thought that, oh, you know, by extending grace and then forgiving, you know, it was like being loving. But like, hold up, like yeah, maybe it's loving, but actually it's not. You're not loving yourself, so what is that about? So now I will literally not shut up about this, but like, I have learned so much about knowing your worth, and I will preach and preach and preach and preach for you to also know your worth. Because that has changed my life so much, and the way that I see things, and like the kind of energy that I let myself be surrounded by. Like, a lot of things have changed because I now know my worth. That is my biggest encouragement to you, to know your worth. And knowing your worth comes with knowing what you deserve, aka good physical health, good mental health, and so it all ties together. And so it's a new year, let's level up together and know how to love ourselves. So if you have any outstanding questions, please leave them down below. Also follow me on Instagram, because I think it's easier to have a dialogue there. Maybe I'll post like a therapy Q&A, and maybe we can do that. I hope this video was encouraging to you. Maybe we bust some myths together. Thank you so much for watching, and just remember that you're loved. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.